Hello, it's Ian Chut here, coming to you from unceded Algonquin territories here at the National Office of the Assembly of First Nations in Ottawa. Hello and thank you for visiting our website. I'm very pleased to be able to chat with you as we continue very important dialogue and planning with First Nations leadership, technicians, and policymakers. On November 8th and 9th, we will be meeting to discuss ideas and action plans in regard to nation building and rebuilding. At the Fall 2010 Planning and Dialogue Forum, First Nations from across Canada will share ideas and lessons learned as we work together to strengthen capacity for First Nation governments. Strong First Nation governments are essential as First Nations continue to put forward our approach to governing our own affairs. Our work together will further our progress and continue our efforts to ensure all First Nations are supported in ways that they can deliver effective services and supports to their people. As many of you know, at the AFN Annual General Assembly in July, I put forward the idea of moving out from under the Indian Act. Breaking free from the Indian Act is not a new idea or concept. In fact, more than 200 First Nations communities across Canada are negotiating self-government agreements and comprehensive claims in favor of stronger First Nation governments and government-to-government relationships with the Crown. And it's something I'm reflecting back from the many conversations I've had with First Nations leaders and citizens across this country. The Indian Act was created in 1867 to control our lives, our lands, and our governments. And at almost 150 years old, it just isn't working. The Indian Act was part of Canada's first constitution. Even though the treaty still existed, the treaty relationship was largely ignored in the Indian Act. The Indian Act looked at us as wards of the state, basically children who needed to have decisions made for them and had to be told how to live. When we're born, the Indian Act gives the government the power to decide who is and is not an Indian, and who gets Indian status. When we die, the Indian Act gives the government control over our wills and estates, and it gives the government, specifically the Minister of Indian Affairs, power over pretty much everything in between. Today, we see more and more a general understanding of the problems with the Indian Act. Courts continue to strike down pieces of the Act, and governments have formally apologized for systems implemented under the Act. We also see that through new legislation, government is changing the Indian Act. So here we have an opportunity to get out in front and suggest plans that will work for First Nations before it's done for us. So how can we do it? First, we must promise one another that we won't repeat the same mistakes that led to the Indian Act. We must agree that each First Nation can move at its own pace or remain in the current system if they're satisfied. Every step must be agreed upon and mandated by our people. We can design systems that reflect our diversity, and there will be no one-size-fits-all approach. This will also take care, we must also take care to protect our rights and our treaties. We will work with the government to get guarantees up front that any changes will not remove or limit our rights. We also need your ideas. Any changes have to come from our people. You know better than anyone else that problems that affect you on a day-to-day basis, and have many ideas how to fix these problems. To get some ideas rolling, we can consider starting with a national gathering where First Nations meet with the Canadian government, and we agree to commit ourselves to this work. We should discuss fair funding so that we can improve our communities, build our economies and businesses, and make sure our children have a good quality of life. We will identify and develop the skills we need to take control of our governments and run our own affairs, including determining who our citizens are. And we can work to get rid of the Department of Indian Affairs, the government department that controls so much of our lives. We can replace it with smaller institutions that support our people and governments. For example, we could have an institution that watches the government and makes sure they're honoring our rights, or a treaty rights tribunal that will help us get back to that treaty relationship. Doing this work will not be easy. There's a saying that we can do things the hard way or we can do them the harder way. Making big changes is never easy, and this would be a big change. But with the wisdom of our elders, the energy of our youth, and the courage and strength of our men and women, we can do it. And we will enter a new era of freedom and prosperity. Our cultures, languages, and traditions will bloom and will grow. With an inclusive and proactive approach, together we will set out achievable plans for progress and prosperity for our people. We will then have fulfilled the vision of our ancestors. We will be nations once again and will have control over our own lives. Thanks for taking the time. Chu Tlek Go, Tlek Go.